Bill Maher made clear his political views during his most recent live show, Over Time, reiterating his loyalty to the Democratic Party and voicing his dislike of President Trump. He also blasted Republicans for their behavior throughout the program, emphasizing their avoidance of responsibility in a harsh criticism. Bill used Martha Alito, the wife of Justice Samuel Alito of the Supreme Court, and her unusual pastime as an example. He turned the conversation to Justice Alito and his flag enthusiast wife, asking, "How do you feel about this panel?" He joked, "It's Flag Day. Is this emblematic of a broader American trend?" Joel Stein had the amusing suggestion, "I'd watch a Bravo show called The Real Housewives of the Supreme Court." This lightened the tone of the conversation. Why is that not in existence yet? The real Supreme Court housewives was his concept, and he made fun of Mrs. Alito's odd pastime of creating flags. He went on, "This is what defines her. This is her joy, showing a woman engrossed in her own hobby, making her own crafts rather than playing sports or crocheting." This led to a more general debate of the nation's developing flag culture, in which flags are more frequently utilized as markers of political affiliation than as platforms for deep conversation. Maher noted, "This is America's problem, even if we never truly tackle the issue," condemning the frequent use of flags as a cover for meaningful dialogue about important subjects. Maher continued by discussing how common flags are becoming, drawing a comparison between them and bumper stickers. Flags are now more common than bumper stickers because they are easier to display and don't require you to even read 3 words, he stated. Joel Stein contributed to the conversation by speculating that the flag would be flown upside down in opposition to the Republicans, signifying a breaking of convention and a protest that has garnered national attention for several months. Maher charged that the Republicans were acting unpatriotically, which he said they appeared to get away with easily. "A few weeks ago, I raised the point that Democrats are seen as having patriotic immunity, whereas Republicans can act in overtly disrespectful ways without being called out," he said. Next, Charlemagne questioned whether Trump actually constituted a threat, posing the question, is Trump dangerous only because he's humorous, or is there more to it? Maher and Charlemagne talked about Trump's popularity, pointing out that many Americans identify with his direct communication approach despite its frequently grave consequences. Republicans tend to communicate in a more direct and simplistic manner, which helps them connect with their base, Maher said. He contended that this shows the value of straightforward language in politics, even when the underlying ideas are unclear. They went on to talk about how people view Republican communication to be honest, using people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Donald Trump as examples. Charlemagne remarked, "Trump sounds like what you'd hear in a house at 3 in the morning, emphasizing how unvarnished and unedited Trump's speech is." The topic of discussion turned to the Supreme Court's ruling to reverse the ban on bump stocks, which are attachments that make a rifle shoot like a machine gun. Despite being legal, Ana Navarro noted that there was a high risk of injury, a sentiment that was supported by a YouTube video that demonstrated the device's capabilities. She clarified, highlighting the greater firing capacity offered by bump stocks, saying, "They aren't classified as machine guns, but you can fire almost as many bullets as a machine gun can hold if you watch the right YouTube videos." Judge Sonia Sotomayor voiced serious worries regarding the decision's potentially fatal consequences. She said, "Forecasting terrible outcomes when I see something that walks like a duck and looks like a duck. It's a duck, this is a machine gun, whatever you want to call it." The panel discussed the paradoxes and ironies of American politics, especially the peculiar and frequently harsh character of court rulings. They highlighted the absurdity of overturning a ban that even Trump had backed, as well as the Supreme Court's conservative judicial opinions that may jeopardize public safety. Maher questioned the need for such power unless it was used for evil intent and tried to make sense of the arguments in favor of bump stocks. He raised an alarming question, saying, Why would anyone need a gun capable of mass shootings unless they intended to engage in one? Regarding the unsettling consequences of such capability, the Supreme Court's decision in the abortion pill case was the topic of discussion in another part. It was emphasized that each case must be understood in its entirety in order to fully appreciate its significance. The court's ruling, which demonstrated the complexity and important ramifications of legal standing in America, held that the plaintiffs could not file a lawsuit since they had not suffered any tangible harm. The public finds it difficult to understand the complexities of the abortion pill case because of the many procedural details that tend to mask the main concerns. Essentially, the legal argument rests on the assertion that the lawsuit's plaintiffs have not experienced direct harm, rather than an explicit denial. It is equivalent to claiming that the complainants have no real stake in the issue. In related talks, panelists who questioned the effectiveness of former President Trump's foreign policy tactics showed skepticism toward his tactics. They expressed disapproval of Trump's frequently impetuous and simplistic strategy, arguing that it would worsen rather than ease international tensions. The idea of Trump working with Netanyahu on Middle Eastern issues was especially worrisome, as there were concerns that this alliance would reduce Gaza to the status of a semi-autonomous territory rather than a Palestinian state. The conversation then turned to respect across generations, emphasizing the futility of using cliches like "you're old" or "get off my lawn" to disparage the elderly. Defying the cliché, Charlemagne pointed out that old people rarely speak in such a condescending manner and that they should be given careful consideration rather than being written off because of their age. When it was brought up that protests should not take place on college campuses in order to preserve the aesthetics of the lawns, but rather to improve the atmosphere for discussion and education, the audience laughed heartily. This emphasized the necessity for both generations to close the communication gap. Young people contribute creativity and vitality, while older people offer knowledge and experience that are just as important. Bill Maher stressed the value of empathy and respect for one another in closing this divide. He made the ironic comment that young people would never trespass on his property, but he also emphasized the importance of respectful interaction for all ages. In the divisive climate of today, encouraging meaningful contacts between generations can improve our collective comprehension of intricate societal problems. Contributing to the conversation, Anna expressed worries about the way these intergenerational talks are frequently handled incorrectly. Referring to young people as ignorant or naive is detrimental, she said, drawing on her personal experiences where these tactics were ineffective in promoting understanding. Maher clarified that the key is to discern between ignorance and stupidity rather than categorizing young people as ignorant in general. He maintained that ignorance is not a personal shortcoming of youth, rather, it is an educational failure. By realizing this, society may steer clear of the traps associated with labeling young people as merely stupid, a term that ignores the enormous body of information that remains unexplored. By highlighting the breadth of human knowledge and the impossibility of understanding it all, Charlemagne reaffirmed this idea. He attacked shoddy election tactics that focus more on dehumanizing young people than on having productive conversations with them. Maher argued that schools and adults who do not adequately prepare the younger generation for the actual world have a responsibility. Due to this educational disparity, young individuals who hold certifications that only denote completion rather than competency are sent into society underprepared. A plea for younger and older generations to actively engage in political and social discourse was made as the conversation came to an end. Ignoring the contributions of the elderly as outdated is a missed opportunity to benefit from their insightful observations, and ignoring youth is a missed opportunity to engage them in new and creative ways. Please feel free to express your opinions in the section below. Please remember to subscribe and like this video if you found the discussion helpful. Subscribe Rumor Spill for more videos.